love boxing, you're gonna love this.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 8 of the BoxNation podcast. I'm your host Dev Sarni, and with me today is a man I can confidently describe as the busiest man in boxing. He has not slept in over 30 years. It is, of course, Mr. Steve Lillis. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, Dev. These intros you give to me every week get better and better. You are going to struggle one week because you keep stepping up a level.
Yeah.
It's levels when it comes to intros, and your levels are getting higher and higher. You might be Errol Spence class soon of intros.
Good link. That's a good thing to say. So, Steve, last week we talked about how you are taking baby steps onto Instagram, and I've followed you this week, and there's been some good stuff on there. You've been going for your runs, you've been going to watch football. There's been pictures of you and Carl Frampton showing off a bit there, Steve.
I always show. When I'm with Carl, when I've got Carl Frampton next to me, I'll show off. When I'm in Belfast with Carl Frampton, he's the king, I'm the prince. I'll be with him. Even Cookie, our cameraman, was jumping on the picture, and the security man photobombed it. Who was minding Carl for the day.
I saw that. I wondered who that was in the back.
That's who that was. That was the guy that was helping Nonito Donaire get to his BoxNation interview. Carl Frampton. You was there, Dev, and that was a mad old press conference.
It was. One thing that was missing, though, Steve, from your Instagram was a story. Now, I touched upon this last week as well. This is where you can do little videos of your face, little pictures of your face, and say, I'm doing this and that. So my aim today is to do a little story with you and put filters on your face, Steve Lillis. Maybe like a princess crown, or maybe a unicorn, something like that. There's a few different options on there. Cool sunglasses.
You do it. You do it. I'm game.
Look out for it on Twitter, ladies and gentlemen. There'll be a nice Instagram story coming your way. Now, Steve, we are 8 episodes deep into the BoxNation podcast, and I'm going to put this to you right now. This is the best one yet.
This is the beefiest one.
Yeah.
There's names who aren't just known to the boxing fans, they're known to the mainstream. They're mainstream stars. Mainstream stars talk to the BoxNation podcast and no one else.
Yes, they do. And, well, maybe the most mainstream of them all is Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, the lineal heavyweight champion. He still is that, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah.
He's the man who beat the man. And, you can go back centuries for lineal champions, and he is that man. And something, as you're hearing these interviews, Dev, he's rightly proud of, very proud of, I'd even say.
And he should be. And we've got the first interview with him since his ban was lifted by the British Boxing Board of Control. It's a fantastic and deep interview with Steve Lillis. We've got Martin Murray, who's got himself a 5th world title shot against Joe Saunders. He gives us his take over the phone. We hear from two men who shocked the boxing world at a press conference this week. It's not exactly what you think, but we'll come to that. And we look back on Errol Spence's destructive win over Lamont Peterson. And we also hear from Anthony $1 Million Crolla as we preview Jorge Linares' return to BoxNation this weekend. Stay with us, you will not regret it. Now, last week, news broke that Tyson Fury was cleared to box again by the British Boxing Board of Control. They will be reinstating his licence once they receive cleared medical records. Here's what Tyson Fury had to say to Steve Lillis.
First of all, was it a relief, or what was your emotions when the board said you can, the suspension's over, you can get back?
It was good. It was a good thing. I've been out of action for a while, as everybody knows, and there's many obstacles standing in my way, which many people thought I'd never overcome, and I did. So very relieved, I think the word would be.
But also, you like positivity around you, and that sort of news is positive, isn't it?
Definitely positive news, Steve. Good start to the year, I had a good end to last year with the UCAD stuff being resolved, and I've had a good start to 18, my licence being lifted to give back.
So when can we expect to see you back in action?
Back in action as soon as I can. Hopefully end of April.
So, what was it like for you, going back into the training, into a strict training camp? Because the last 2 years you've been around your kids, your wife, who people you dote on, and suddenly you're back to that sort of Spartan lifestyle again. Was that difficult to overcome?
Not really, it was something that I've been accustomed to over the years, Steve. I think it's like riding a bike. Once you know how to do it. That's sort of what it's like with me. Don't forget I had a lot of weight to shed because I still lost. But I've lost 4 stone, so it's a good start. Not bad kicking the teeth, is it?
And you've lost it quick that weight then, haven't you? To lose 4 stone, you must have lost it in 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, I've lost it in about, from December. 8 weeks I've lost it in.
That's phenomenal, isn't it? So what is it you're on? You're on that similar diet to Billy Joe and it's just falling off you?
I'm on the keto diet, but I'm training twice a day every day. And I'm really working really hard. You want it. If you want something in life, you get it. And that's the type of person I am. If I want something, then I just go out there and take it. And I want to come back, and before I didn't. And it was like I had a lot of obstacles in my way. I couldn't see light at the end of the tunnel. But now I see light. And the light is good.
In a way, it was horrible to have that, be out of action for 2 years through no fault of your own. Could you look back maybe in a few years and think, well, what I achieved when I come back, perhaps a 2-year rest was a blessing in disguise?
Most definitely, I was at the top of the tree, number 1 on the planet. And it had to be more than that for me. I wanted to be the most controversial, charismatic, outspoken champion since Ali. And I do believe I achieved that. Because I said things that went places that people there go. So now, I'm vacating all the belts and coming back to be a 2-time heavyweight champion. So it's all good. It's all a very good story, and it'll go well in my book.
Are you writing a book yet, or are you going to wait till the end of your career?
No, I'm in the middle of one at the moment.
When Joshua's next fight was announced the other day, they suddenly started calling you out. What did you make of that from Eddie Hearn?
I'll tell you what, Eddie Hearn is full of hot air. And it just shows who the big draw is. They're supposed to be the active ones, world champions. But yeah, they keep talking about me, an old ball-headed Batman. And it just shows where it's at. I'm the lineal heavyweight champion, and that can never be taken from me unless someone beats me. And that lineage dates back to the 1800s from John L. Sullivan. And I hold that. So if they want that, they know they've got to beat me. And it just shows you because they're saying, he's only a phone call away. But I've offered to do that fight 10 times and they just keep saying no. So they don't want the fight because they know the outcome.
How much of a kick will you get out of proving people wrong when you come back after, say, a 2.5-year absence and keep winning and regain the title?
Do you know what it is, Steve? I've been proving people wrong my whole life. As soon as I entered into this world and started proving people wrong, the doctor said I wouldn't make it, and I did. The doctor said I wouldn't be very big, and I'm a giant. He said I couldn't win the British title, and I did. He said he definitely won't win a European, and I did that. He said he's got no chance against Vladimir Klitschko. Made the man look stupid. He said I'd never be able to overcome you, man. Done. And then they said they'd never get his licence back. Done. They said I could never lose the weight. I'm too far gone. But guess what? That's on the way to being done too. I never set a target I didn't achieve. And when I say I'm doing something, I've always done it. I've never let anybody down in the past. When I said I'm going to do something, I've always delivered 25 times in a row. And when I say I'm going to come back and unify the division one more time, I'm going to do that too. I am going to say this, a bold quote. Joshua will be my easiest fight, even easier than Vladimir Klitschko, even after 2.5 years out the ring. The back is back, the king has returned.
So you said Joshua's your easiest fight. When you look at the heavyweight division, I know you believe you will beat any of them. When you look at, say, 10 heavyweights out there, is there one of them where you think, I'll beat him, but I'm going to have to be at my best and a bit more?
No, Steve, I look at them all and I see all good men, all good world champions, all young and ambitious and unbeaten. And it's a very good time to be an heavyweight. But everybody knows, even if they don't want to admit it, deep down, they know the Gypsy King will reign supreme once again. The haters, the doubters, the people who hate me, the people who wish me dead, they know deep down inside when the match is on it.
When you say, do you really think people wish you dead?
Of course they do. Of course they do.
Why do you think they'd wish you that?
Just because people have to work hard for what they get, yeah? And they look at me like, we don't work hard, you don't put work in the gym, you don't train, and you can go in with 6 champions and people who are supposed to be good and beat them quite comfortably, and they've been working hard. So people don't like that. They don't like the fact that I can get off the sofa, go in there and knock out bumps. And that's what it is. There's a lot of jealous people. my background and heritage and race don't help neither.
Of course it doesn't, yeah.
People don't like the idea of a traveller. But, you know, I've already set many precedents in my own right. And I'm going to set another one. I'm going to change people's opinion on the way the modern day traveller is.
But do you also feel, though, there's a lot of love out there also for you from people who might feel you're the people's champion, you're the spokesman for them?
100%. I am the working class people's champion. I fight for them. You know, I've got that much love around the country, around the world. I'm over here in Spain, everyone's stopping me, can I get a picture, go on, camp. It's just giving me, spurring me on every single time. The real champ, they're saying all this, that, and the other. When I go to these shows, are sold out, people are there. I have lots of fans. Just want to say thank you to all the fans, and thank you for being so patient with me. And my promise will stand. I will reign once again and give all the Tyson Fury fans something to scream and shout about from the rooftops. Yet again, we will have bragging rights over everybody. One more time.
All right. Tyson, thanks very much for speaking to us on the podcast.
All the best, Steve, and God bless, and I hope to see you all soon. Look after yourself, keep it real, and remember, the Mac is back. Mic drop.
Wow. Well, where to even begin, Steve? He sounds like a man who has got his mojo back. He talked about a number of things there, including people wishing him dead. I mean, Steve, talk to me.
Yeah, look, he's in a good place, even though he talks that little bit of negative about people wanting him dead, and something I questioned him on there. Did he really mean that? But when I spoke to him yesterday, he was walking along the front in Marbella, where he's training at the moment with Ben Davison, and he was in good form. We had a little chat beforehand, chatting afterwards, and he's in a really good place at the moment, and he just wants to get back in the ring. You know, you heard the interview. He's rightly proud of being the lineal champion, and he is. He's still the man who beats the man. And congratulations to Anthony Joshua for his thrilling win over Vladimir Klitschko. But the fact remains, and people seem to remove from history, Tyson Fury defeated Vladimir Klitschko on the 28th of November 2015. Unanimous decision at the Esprit Arena in Dusseldorf. He was the man who beat him, so he's the lineal champion. I just think Tyson just wants to get back in there and prove to the people and to people who are doubting him that he can be number one in the division again. And the way he's talking now, I think an announcement on his next fight, his comeback fight, will be imminent.
What do you make of his comments about, and it was a big bold statement, he said so himself, that Anthony Joshua will be his easiest fight?
Yeah, he thinks so. He thinks that, that style of Fury's, if he could... Look, I'm not going to sit there and, and say, Tyson Fury's back, he's going to leave a trail of destruction in the heavyweight division. Till we see him back in that ring, it's hard to tell, because he's had such a layoff, and let's be honest, he's enjoyed life with his wife and kids, and enjoyed his, frequenting pubs in Manchester since that layoff. But the Tyson Fury who beat Vladimir Klitschko can still beat any heavyweight in the world, and that includes Anthony Joshua.
This is a man, clearly, who has a fire in his belly again, and that belly, by the way, Steve, is getting smaller and smaller.
I mean, he lost 4 stone already and lost it quick.
Goodness me.
Fantastic what he's done there, and that alone shows you the determination he's got to rightfully, show to people that he is the number one heavyweight in the world. Look, since he announced the comeback, everybody's speaking about him. I was somewhere this morning, and someone had to meet someone for an appointment, and they saw a picture of me with Lennox Lewis on a wall at my mum's house.
Oh, wow.
And the guy just said to me, when will Tyson Fury fight again? So it just shows, and this is a guy who's just Joe Public, not a boxing fan, but asked about Tyson Fury. That shows how much we should be welcoming him back, because if you can attract mainstream people to boxing, you're needed for the game.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about a good friend of Tyson Fury. WBO World Middleweight Champion Billy Joe Saunders' next fight has been confirmed. He'll be fighting Martin Murray on April 14th, live on BoxNation. Also on that show, Terry Flanagan against Maurice Hooker for the vacant WBO Super Lightweight Championship. So it's going to be a heck of a show. There'll be more details on venue and tickets, etc. coming very, very soon. But Steve Lillis caught up with Martin Murray and asked him what's the best and the worst of Billy Joe Saunders.
You know what? I think I just kind of like covered it a bit. Then when I said obviously he has, there has been times where he's not looked the best. You know, but when he's been fighting lesser opposition, and you know the same can be said about myself. You know, I really relate to that. But when he's up for it, and you know he knows he has to put on a show like he did with Lemieux, you know the guy is rightly so, you know, one of the best middleweights in the world, and that's why he's world champion. So I really rate Billy. I know that he's going to be thinking that I'm not going to be an easy fight, which I'm not. I've proved that many times. So when are we going to come in the best possible condition he can? And you know, so will I. This is kind of like my last chance now. I look at it. I've only officially been beat once off a middleweight. You know, I've got the Golovkin loss, the Sturm draw, and the Martinez loss in, you know, when I fought middleweights for me 3 world titles. But I only look at one of them losses being genuine, and that was to Golovkin. So, you know, I've only lost at middleweights officially against you know, the best out there. So I'm still a force to be reckoned with. I'm still one of the best middleweights in the world, and I'm confident going into the fight. It's going to be a tough fight, but I know that I've got it in me to go and do the job.
Do you look at someone like George Groves, who won a world title in his 4th attempt? Does that give you a bit of confidence that you can do it at your 5th attempt?
Yeah, well, yeah, let's be honest, it's now or never, Steve. You know what I mean? It's I can't complain for having chances. You know, this is my 5th one. You know, some people are lucky to even get one. I'm in my 5th now, like I've said. So, you know, I do take inspiration from someone like Groves. You know, obviously coming off his losses, back-to-back losses with Carl Fox, and then, you know, a lot of people writing him off, and then you know, him obviously making steady progress and winning the world title in his fight before last. So, you know, I do look at people and I do take inspiration, and you know, I am genuinely happy for the lad. You know, he's dug deep, he's worked hard, but he's not wanted to, pretty much like myself. Yeah. And you know, he's got his rewards, and you know, I'm gonna give it everything I've got now. This could potentially be my last training camp, so I'm gonna give it everything I've got, and yeah, just looking forward to the fight, and looking forward to hopefully 5th time try and becoming world champion.
If Billy Joe is at his best, what sort of form have you got to fight? Have you got to perform close or better than what you did against Martinez that night in Argentina when you should have been crowned world champion?
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's going to have to be a bit of both. You know, Billy Joe's very, very slick, southpaw. The only other southpaw I fought is Martinez, but he's very, very slick. You know, can box really good off his back foot. So you know, it's gonna have to be where I'm there, but I'm not. You know, I can box myself, so I'm gonna have to get in there, try and outbox him, try and outfight him, just try and outthink him. You know, I really am gonna be the best when I fight him. I know that, but you know, I'm looking forward to the challenge.
And of course, you'll be in camp with a lot of boxers that are busy, like Carl Frampton and so Tommy Coyle, Rocky Field, and there's a lot of fighters in that gym getting ready for big fights.
That's right, yeah. I think Rocky's on. I think he might be on end of March. Then we've got myself. Carl's on the week after. Tommy's on round about the same time, and then we've got Conrad Cummins, Stevie Ward as well, and a couple of other lads. So the gym's buzzing at the minute. We're all bouncing off each other. We're all in big fights, and we're all, you know, backing each other up. So yeah, it's good times for the gym. Obviously, Rocky's close to a world title. Frampton's on his way back up there, and myself. So you know, potentially we could have 3 world champions in the gym this year. So the gym's buzzing, and yeah, we're all buzzing, ready to go.
What do you think the build-up would be like against Billy Joe? Because Billy Joe's had his fights where he's had trash talk him, but nobody seems to pick on you. Is that because they know you're a bit of a street man who might give them a bang if they start?
Yeah, but I don't know how that is. I think it's most probably Steve, because I'm not like that myself. I'm not one for giving shit out, you know, and I don't take it either. But I don't know what the build-up's going to be like. You know, I can't comment for how other people are going to be. I'll just be myself, mate. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the build-up. I like these world title fight build-up, these big fights. I'm really looking forward to it. It's my first world title fight in England as well, so no, like I said, I'm really looking forward to it, mate. I can't wait.
And finally, before you go, I mean, I know you're looking forward to that. Something I'm looking forward to, and a lot of people, is the book that's coming out in May. Your autobiography that I know Paul Zannon would have done a brilliant job with. What is that book going to be about? It's not just going to be about boxing, is it?
Oh no, to be honest with you, Steve, I mean, when I've read back and read through it, it gets boring when it gets to the boxing to me. It's all, I mean, it won't be for people reading it because it's, obviously, there's some really, really interesting stories there about boxing, but, you know, I had a completely different life before boxing, so when I'm reading it now, when I'm reading about the boxing, it's like my life now. But whereas when I'm reading it before I started boxing, you know, the times when I was in jail over here, I was in jail in Cyprus, you know, I was out partying, I was taking drugs, I was drinking, I was doing a lot of stuff. It's like I'm reading about a different person, you see. So yeah, there's obviously there's a lot of tales in it about that. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not proud about, but you know, it's my life and there's nothing I can do about that, you know. So yeah, so I'm happy to be sharing it, and I guarantee it's going to be an interesting read.
And it's #1, I think, in the boxing pre-sellers on Amazon this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think it got released yesterday. It only got released. It was yesterday, I think, and yeah, it was already at #1 based on pre-sales. So yeah, I think it should be a good read. It was for me, you know, reading through it. It was you know, sometimes it reads really well. Other times it reads like really uncomfortable for me, you know, when I'm obviously reading through stuff that I've done in the past and stuff like that, you know, compared to the person I am now. So yeah, it's you know, there's plenty of ups and downs and ups in it. So yeah, I'm obviously excited about that getting released, and I'm sure other people who read it will enjoy it. And
Martin, thanks for joining us, and I'm sure you hope there's going to be a new chapter added to the book.
Yeah, that's right, mate. Yeah, that's right. It's you know, it'll give this fight against Billy Joe will just give it the perfect ending, mate. So yeah, can't wait.
Steve Lillis, Martin Murray. This is his 5th shot at a world title. Somewhat of a is he drinking in the last chance saloon?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, he's 35 years of age now. You know, he's been a pro since 2007. A couple of years before that, he was in the ABA. So he's been around a long time. He's long in the tooth. He won't mind me calling him a veteran. I know Martin really well, so I can get away with that. He's a really good guy. I like him a lot as a person. He's someone very honest.
There's this view out there that Martin Murray is perhaps an uncrowned world champion. He had that fight with Sergio Martinez in Argentina, of course, where maybe he nicked it. Same against, who was it? Was it Felix Sturm?
Sturm. I thought Sturm won that night. I mean, that was a draw. I thought it was more favouring. I thought Sturm won that night. The Martinez that was the night he was the uncrowned champion. That had been anywhere else in the world apart from a football ground in Buenos Aires, he would have got the decision. There's absolutely no doubt about it. You know, I really felt for him that night because he was jobbed out of that fight without a shadow of a doubt. Then the Golovkin fight, he left it all in there. Golovkin was fantastic that night. Yeah. You know, you can't criticise his performance that night. He was well beaten. He then fought Arthur Abraham.
That was his. I think that was his last shot. At the
that was the last shot. Yeah, that was the last shot, and he didn't cover himself with glory that night. So Abraham was past his best, but maybe being up at super middleweight didn't suit him. And I'll be honest, it didn't suit him at super middleweight. He was poor against George Groves as well. And interesting when he fought Groves, he you know, just shows how he felt. You know, one thing about Martin, he's relied on is his toughness, and he said when he fought George Groves, the backhand of Groves hit him harder than Golovkin. So it shows how much the super middleweight power he was feeling it. He's going to fight Billy Joe Saunders. You know, look, the odds are stacked against him to become a world champion at the 5th attempt. But it's also his first world title attempt on British soil, so that's nice for him at least. But he's back at his weight, and he will be the bigger man. You know, he's naturally bigger. I mean, I think Martin is a bit like Paul Smith, not in definition or anything, but in the sense that around 11-10 would be his ideal weight. He's a bit caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. You know, he's perhaps too big for middleweight and too small for super middleweight. And if there was a weight at 11-10, that's just where he'd slip in. But yeah, this is the last chance saloon as well. And if it did come unstuck there, you know, he's got a couple nice little businesses going in St Helens. He's got a food prep business that's doing well. I think his wife's doing well as a personal trainer. Good. And he's a great success story because he won't mind me saying this, and it's all going to be revealed in his book, Saint and Sinner, that our friend Paul Zannon's wrote. Paul's a good guy. He's good at the writing. Terrific fella. It's coming out in mid-May. There might be an extra chapter to write if he beats Billy Joe Saunders. And it's warts and all, the book. Martin hasn't shied off his past, and I tell you, when you read it, even though Martin's been a bad boy in the past, it'll shock you. But Martin Murray's a great example of what you can do with your life. You know, that if you get a second chance, you make the most of it. He met his wife Gemma, and he's never looked back. And now he's a pillar of the community in St Helens, which is something he wasn't before. You know, some of the things he's done.
It sounds like a riveting story, and I'm sure there'll be a free copy coming our way. Hey, Paul. Hey, little nudge to Paul Zan on the author there.
Paul, 2 books, one addressed to Deb Sarney, one addressed to Lillis, please.
But back on the boxing side of things, so Billy Joe Saunders, this current version of Billy Joe Saunders, the one that is, you know, he did what he did to David Lemieux, and he impressed against William Monroe as well. This version, surely he's got too much for Martin Murray. But say, if this was made a year and a half ago, you know, he's heading into the Akavov fight, that kind of territory, Martin Murray would have a very good chance.
If Billy Joe's at his best, like he was against Lemieux, you don't back against him. But, you know, he went into that Lemieux fight full of fear, knowing he could be beaten. You know, like Martin Murray, you know, the bigger the fight, the more they get up for him. You know, who expected Murray to cover himself in glory when he fought Sergio Martinez? Who expected him to extend Golovkin, although he was well beaten? Few. You know, he's in the last chance saloon. That makes him a dangerous man. But Billy Joe Saunders, he's best. Look, I'm going to be honest. It's hard to back against him on form at the moment. What middleweights would you back against Billy Joe Saunders? You know,
be a very, very short list.
You know, very short list. Golovkin, Canelo, would you? Golovkin, maybe I'd still back. Canelo, I don't know. He might have that style. Danny Jacobs, I think he could beat. So, you know, that's not discrediting Martin Murray. It's a good fight. And if Billy Joe isn't right, as you said, Mr. Sarney, Martin Murray's the sort of opponent who will pounce on the night and cause an upset.
Absolutely, and that'll be on April the 14th, live on BoxNation. Also on that show, as we mentioned, Terry Turbo Flanagan gets a shot at becoming a 2-weight world champion. He takes on unbeaten American Morris Hooker for the vacant WBO Super Lightweight Championship, which is Terence Crawford's old belt. Here's Terry Flanagan on Morris Hooker.
You're moving up to 140 and challenging for a world title.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, 2-weight world champion. It's a dream come true if I can win that, and hopefully against Morris Hooker we'll do the business. I mean, for the last year or so I've been looking to move up. As soon as Crawford vacated, that was my chance to jump up, and yeah, with a fight like Hooker for a vacant title, it's a fight I think I can win.
What do you know about him?
Not really much really. I think I watched the Perez fight and a couple of others, but not too much. And more leave that to Stephen. Whatever he tells me I'll do, and he's confident we'll beat him. He'll get the tactics right like usual. We'll have a plan A, plan B, and we'll be alright in the night. It's shown in my last few fights that I've been struggling at the weight. I mean, my last few fights, the training camps the last 3 or 4 weeks I've not been training. I've just been making weight and not sparring well at that weight because my weight's being down. So I'll be able to keep my weight up a bit more and spar at what weight of fight we're going to be fighting at.
Now last week we had Jack Catterall on the show who was eyeing up a fight with Terry Flanagan if Terry's victorious against Morris Hooker. His actual words were he would knock Terry Flanagan back down to lightweight. Now we fed that line to Terry and here's what he had to say on Jack Catterall.
If you can get past Morris Hooker, there's, as you mentioned, there's a lot of big fights out there. One guy queuing up to fight you is Jack Catterall. He says, I might be misquoting him, but he was saying he likes the chance to knock you back down to lightweight. What do you make of that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Jack's a good fighter. I've done sparring with Jack. I mean, sparred Jack for the Zapita fight, and yeah, it was good sparring, but I know I've got the beating of him when that fight happens. I mean, we're sparring when he was lightweight and he was up there welterweight, so yeah, I know I'm confident of winning that fight when it does eventually happen.
You can't tell too much from sparring, of course, as well. But what do you make of Cattrall in terms of ability? I mean, is he a serious challenger for you?
Yeah, he's good. He's tricky, southpaw. He's good. Yeah, we wouldn't use him if it wasn't good for the fight because we know he's a good fighter, but it's a fighter that I know can beat.
In terms of the sparring, I mean, that's always kept a little bit in-house, but they were very confident they'd done well in that spar. How did you see it?
I've seen it as a 50-50 spar. He started well and I finished well, so it don't really matter, sparring, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, the fight night, it's all what happens on the night.
Again, you've got to get past Morris Hooker, but I mean, there's some massive fights out there for you, Terry. I mean, anybody else on your radar? Anybody else?
Not really, no, never really looked past the fight, but we'll win this one, and then obviously I think they'll be lining Cattrall up, but yeah, like I say, it's a fight I'm confident of winning.
It's a great fight from the northwest as well, isn't it, that?
Yeah, of course, he's a good kid, Jack, and he's under Arun now. He was sparring down there when he was really. Since he's been with Arun, I don't think he's improved that much, so yeah, I think he'll be alright.
Steve, two things. Firstly, Flanagan v Hooker. What do you know about Hooker?
Look, I know I'm a boxing. Put my hand up in the air like I am in this studio, Dev. Not a lot. I mean, I'm not. You know.
You can put your hands down now,
I can
Steve.
put my hands down. I'm not. You know. I've looked bits of him on YouTube since the fight was announced. I hadn't taken a lot of notice of his career. He's got that draw with Darles Perez from about 14, 15 months ago.
It doesn't look great, does it?
Because it doesn't look great. You know, if Terry Flanagan was fighting Darles Perez for this vacant title, you would just be predicting a walkover. So the odds, look, it's in his home. Well, it's in his home. We don't know what city, whether it's going to be London or Manchester. They've both been mentioned. He's the home fighter. And the odds are stacked in his favour. Terry's had a long rest he's had to have because of this tendonitis problem he's got. But if Terry's right on the night, you cannot oppose him in this fight. You can't overlook Morris Hooker at all. But you wouldn't be backing him to beat Terry on this night. Let's be honest. And look, it's all set up for Terry to win. Maybe have a defence, and then for Jack Cattrall to be slipped in at man the tree, and then we have our own bit of British beef, Northwestern beef. But I noticed there, with Terry, he doesn't bite, does he? He doesn't bite. He says he's biting for the ring, but not with his teeth.
Yeah, no,
with his fists. No, he didn't bite at all. But apparently when he turned away from that interview, Pazza Parry was telling me when Terry turned away and the interview was over, he said, "Don't worry, I'll be doing him the Cattrall if it comes off. Don't worry about that, you know." And of course, Pazza said to him, "You're just giving me the best line there."
Yeah.
So he'll be. Look, Terry. We see Terry doesn't say a lot, but there's a nasty side to him. Believe me.
In that interview, it's on our YouTube page as well. You will see Terry Flanagan's eyes light up. So yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you about Hooker and also about Cattrall, and you've spoken about both. Let me ask you one final thing: should Terry Flanagan hook with a hooker?
I tell you what. You haven't got a coat on today. You're in a dose behind on your chair. Get your coat, as they say.
Sorry, I had to do it. I mean, I've been thinking about hooker gags all week. I don't know if I can really do most of them on this.
Well, I tell you, when you're doing that Twitter feed, Fight Week, hyping up the fight for all the BoxNation followers on Twitter for a week.
Yeah.
I'm going to unfollow because you are really going to drum it up, I know, with your hookers.
I said one earlier, it's a shame he's not from Amsterdam. But let's leave that there with Morris Hooker. Now let's move things on. In a sport where press conferences involve fiery verbals, slanderous insults and heated face-offs, tables being thrown, etc., the Carl Frampton and Nonito Donaire press conference last week was a complete breakaway from the norm. Now, I mentioned it at the top of this show, but these two guys shocked the boxing world. Two great fighters, lavishing praise on each other. But the best part was actually after the presser, where they spoke to the media and they started singing. They got caught up in an online sing-off. Nonito Donaire did his best Elton John for our man Steve Lillis.
A quick verse.
You know what? I'm going to do some Elton John. How about that?
You do some Elton John.
And you can do... Hold on, I'm getting pressured here.
No pressure.
And you can tell everybody this is your song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in words how wonderful life is while you're in the world. Yeah!
Well, Carl Frampton heard some of Donaire's singing and fired back online with this.
If you ever change your mind about leaving me behind, whoa, bring it to me, bring your sweet loving, bring it on home to me, yeah, 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 yeah.
Steve, I mean, what can I say? Give us a song.
Look, I sing punk rock, so it's not in tune.
Yeah.
But, can I give you a song?
No, you don't have to. You don't actually. No, actually, no. Now that you're actually considered it, you entertain the notion.
Let me get some.
This could be a revolutionary podcast.
I'll sing a line of Sex Pistols.
Go on, give me something.
I am an antichrist. I am an anarchist. There you go.
We've kicked off this podcast with Tyson Fury, yeah, and then we've got Steve Lillis singing midway through. This is undoubtedly the best podcast that we've had. Fantastic. What was that song? Just so that listeners
Anarchy in the UK by the Sex Pistols. Johnny Rotten doesn't even sing it half as good as me. I am an antichrist. I am an antichrist.
Well,
I am an anarchist.
Well, nice vocals. I would say Nonito Donaire has eclipsed not only Carl Frampton but yourself as well. Yes, it's a different genre of singing, but I do think he was a bit better. What did you make of some of the stuff they said to each other in the presser and generally? They were pretty nice, weren't they?
Look, they're two respectful guys. You saw that they were both delighted to be there. Let's not think they're going to be all loving on fight week and all that, because they're both nasty little so-and-sos when it comes to it. It's an absolute crossroads fight with Donaire. If he loses, you nowhere to go, and if Carl Frampton lost, it puts him so far to the back of the queue, he almost becomes an opponent for these world champions to prove himself. So it's an absolute crossroads fight, and you know what? All credit to them both to taking it, because look, they're both big names in the sport. Carl could have fought me or you could have weighed 9 stone that night, and he could have fought me and you that have been packed in Belfast, and he still would have got his world title fight against the winner of Selby and Warrington later this summer. Nonito Donaire's got the power of Richard Schaefer now behind him. He could have had a couple routine 10-rounders just buried away in America, and he would have got another world title fight. But no, these two want to get it on, and in an era where fighters like to take the easiest route to world titles, it's great to see these guys, these two particular men, just wanting to fight each other to get to their world title fight. It's about, and that they deserve more credit than you can ever imagine. It's absolutely fantastic that these sort of fights, and what was so great about the Belfast crowd last week was the reception Donaire got. He felt overwhelmed the way they treated him for the 3 days he was there, and the Belfast Filipino community rocked up to the press conference as well. And it'd be fantastic to see him in Belfast in April, and I think those two are going to serve up a special fight, perhaps the best fight we'll see on BoxNation this year.
And here's what I'm hoping, right? So they're already doing things differently. They are getting embroiled in a sing-off online. And by the way, check out the BoxNation Twitter feed, because Tommy McCarthy, the big fella from Belfast, the cruiserweight, he does a fantastic Louis Walsh impression where he kind of rates them, and he gives Carl Frampton the nod, and he's taken him to judges' houses, I guess would be the next stage. But aside from that, what I'm hoping is that when these two do face off in fight week, we get some more singing. I want someone, there's normally Frank Warren standing in the middle, hold a mic. Yeah, hold a mic between them.
It would be great to see it, and we may well see it, but you know what? When you're 2 days out, have the press conference on the Thursday, say of fight week, and you're 24 hours from a weigh-in, press conference sing-offs are the furthest thing on their mind. They're wondering, all they're thinking of is that Nando's once they weigh in. So if Frank or yourself can pull that off that week, Dev, some feat. But it comes to Thursday of fight week, we'd be getting a little bit more serious, and the cuddles and handshakes we saw last week when they were chatting about their families and stuff, I don't think that'll be a thing of fight week. But almost sold out, I believe. If not, it is sold out. I'm not sure. I think
it's
there are
well
some
on its
tickets
way,
left.
yeah.
It's well on its way. Will be sold out on the night, and it's certainly the best fight in Britain or Ireland that night. I understand Amir is fighting that night, but the latest now I've heard is Phil LaGreco as the opponent. But what fight would you rather watch?
Well, I know what fight I'd rather watch. And you mentioned there's Phil LaGreco. Phil LaGreco is a victim, I believe, of Errol Spence Jr. You see what I did there? Because that's brought me on to my next. I didn't even know you was going to mention it. Now, it was a late addition to the BoxNation schedule last week, but we brought you Errol Spence Jr. versus Lamont Peterson. It was an impressive display from the IBF world champion, knocking down Peterson in the 5th and really beating him down for 7 rounds. And that meant that Peterson's trainer Barry Hunter did not send him out for the 8th round. Steve, talk to me about Errol Spence.
Hey, he was fantastic. It was everything. He's nicknamed the Truth. And he's showing why. Look, there's little holes you can pick. Maybe he was getting caught a little bit too. You like to see him not get caught as much, but you're absolutely picking little holes. It's the way. You know what? He's unfazed by anything. He just goes through the gears, improves. The uppercut, it was a big overhand left that I think it was causing a lot of the problems. But I thought his uppercut was fantastic, and his body work. The body punches weren't the sort that wipe you out in one shot, but they were wearing, and it was a steady beating he took. Yeah. And all credit to Barry Hunter, because if you watched him the end of the 7th round, Barry was wrestling with his conscience. Do I send him out for one more? Do I send him out? And Barry's been around Lamont and his brother Anthony for a long time. Barry Hunter might be one of the best known trainers in the world, but he's worked with amateurs all over the world, the American amateurs, and I think he was coaching the Americans the year Amir Khan won the Junior Olympics.
Oh, right, okay.
And he knew Amir Khan well from that, but he made the right decision, and we were watching in the studio, and Barry, Buncey and myself were all thinking, come on Barry, make the right decision.
Yeah, he did it though.
And as soon as the bell went, he made that decision, and it must have been horrible for him to make, but ultimately it was the right one, and it was a fantastic win, because Lamont Peterson's been a good fighter over, there's been controversy around him, but he's been a good fighter. The only thing maybe, I fancied him to get the job done, Spence, in some style, because he's a slow starter, Lamont. Matisse, wiped him away. Khan started really well. He was floored early against Bradley. He's one of those fighters, when he gets in his rhythm, he becomes so hard to beat. But Errol Spence never let him get in that rhythm. Was all over it from the start. Derek James, his trainer, got the tactics spot on, and it was another fantastic performance from Errol Spence. And I just hope it goes into some super fights and becomes a pay-per-view star.
Well, Spence now has his eyes on bigger prizes, and here's what he said in the post-fight interview.
Everybody know I'm waiting on Sometimes Thurman. I've been waiting for a long time. Since I was 15-0, I've been calling this guy out, and he keep making excuse after excuses. He need to hurry up and come back, fight a Latino fight, and then let's fight. I'm waiting on him. Let's get it on, man.
Well, it's very clear that Errol Spence wants a shot at Keith Thurman and the belts that he has, and he brought up Thurman's name again at the post-fight press conference.
What would you like to say to Keith Thurman right now?
He said he's a bigger puncher than these guys, but when the last time he got a knockout? The pedigree opponents raised, and he's not getting the knockouts anymore. He was one time when he was fighting lower caliber fighters, but now he's not getting any knockouts. And, I give him a pass. I haven't said that. I've been going on record to say that I let him have a tune-up fight. He's been out for a while. He just come off an injury, have a tune-up fight. But after that, it should be me.
In 2018?
Yeah, 2018. This is the beginning of the year. This is January. We have a tune-up fight March, April. And we can fight at the end of the year.
Now, Steve, you gave me a little heads up at the before we started recording, and you told me that your rant this week is actually going to be on Keith Thurman and the welterweight division generally. So we've just heard those comments from Errol Spence. He wants Thurman. He's not calling him one time. I think he's calling him sometime. Everyone's making gags at that one-time moniker that Keith Thurman has, and the last time he had a knockout was a while ago. So what are you talking about, Lillis?
Yeah, a little rant this week. I don't want to smash Keith Thurman to pieces, but you can see why he's called one time. He only seems to fight once a year.
Oh, he's done it.
Look, he goes on about Errol Spence learning his trade, and you come to me when you've learnt your trade. I think he's learned it enough now to take him on, and also I think he's only about 14 months older than Errol Spence.
He called him Young Buck in a tweet afterwards.
I think Errol was 28 in January.
Yeah.
And Keith was 29 in November, so he's only just over a year older than him. But Keith's saying plenty about Young Buck, learn your trade. Well, Keith, when are we going to see you in action? I mean, since he beat Robert Guerrero March 2015, which was a big struggle for him in that fight.
He knocked him down, didn't he?
Knocked him down, but in the last 3 rounds, Guerrero really come roaring back. But in almost 3 years, all he fought was Luis Collazo, who was well past his best.
And hurt him, badly hurt him.
Sean Porter and Danny Garcia almost a year ago, 4th of March last year. So we need him in action. So instead of saying Young Buck and, learn your trade first, get yourself back in the ring, because you know what? This welterweight division could become the sexiest out there between Spence, Thurman, and of course Terence Crawford if he comes through Jeff Horn. He will come through Jeff Horn. Don't worry about that. He'll stop him. Them three, there's a great series of fights there. And I want to see this welterweight division. I don't want to see these guys like we had, in recent time, because they could see the money there with Mayweather. Guys trying to jump 2 weight classes.
Yeah.
I'll have a go at that welterweight because there's that fight there. These three, just get together and have a series of fights. I mean, it's going to be harder to make the Crawford fight because of Top Rank.
Sure.
They're very, they're now very firmly in bed with ESPN. Fantastic deal they've got with them, and of course we get all the top ranked fights on BoxNation. But Thurman against Errol Spence is a fight that can be made tomorrow. They're both with Al Heyman. They can make the fight. Let's make that fight for soon. And then the winner goes on and fights Crawford and get them round the table. We need these best welterweights to fight each other. It's a blue ribbon division, the welterweights.
Yeah.
And when you think of boxing, you think heavyweights, middleweights, welterweights. Let's get these three together and get them all fighting in a little series. And you know what? And if you lose your unbeaten record to one of these, it doesn't mean the end of the world. You can still come back and win other world titles and be in big money fights. They're all unbeaten. It doesn't mean you can't bounce back. Garcia lost for the first time in 33, 34 fights when he was lost to Thurman. He's hoping to come back now, and he can also
Brandon
jump
Rios
back in.
is fighting
he
next.
can jump back in that picture if he has. Is he in February or March? He's out.
Something like that. I'm not sure if we. I haven't heard on that yet. But
he's
Brandon
back
Rios.
in action, so he can still jump back in that club. But let's have all these welterweights fighting each other and not looking at who's what good junior welterweights there are, who's willing to jump up, or what junior middleweights they are they can boil down.
Well, Keith Thurman has always said, I've got an O and I'm not afraid to let it go. So hopefully he puts that in practice. Not necessarily he's going to go and lose his O, but he risks it against Errol Spence. The rumours at the moment doing the rounds is that he's going to come back, Keith Thurman, and fight Jesse Vargas. Have you heard much of that?
I think it was mentioned the other night, maybe by Barry in the studio. Look, it's an okay fight, but I won't have a problem with it, as long as he's not going to go through another processions after that of, the likes of, and all respect to them, go through Robert Guerrero, Luis Collazo, that sort of thing. That's what I don't want to happen. He has been out a year, and Jesse Vargas is perfectly acceptable after that.
I think it's a bit more than a tune-up fight, isn't it?
It's a decent fight. It's a decent defence. One he should win if he thinks he can beat Errol Spence, but that should be the one, and it should be the sort of fight that should really get you sharp for Errol Spence as well.
Yeah. Well, good words, Barry. Good little good rant.
Steve, not Barry.
Steve, you're the other one. No. Great words, Steve. And I'll tell you what, just generally, and I do apologise, please forgive me. I tell you what, it's good to have boxing back. Spence last weekend, and this weekend we've got the return of Jorge Linares. Now he takes on Mercito Gesta, and he's going to be defending his world titles. Which ones has he got, Steve? He
has got the WBA world lightweight title, and I think he's got some form of the.
Has he got the diamond?
But we never really. Mikey Garcia's the WBC champion. I think for one of the Crolla fights, was it? They invented the diamond belt, and what's good on BoxRec, they just call him WBA champion. So I'll go for that.
Well, he's back this weekend. He takes on Gester, and who better to speak to than a man who shared 24 rounds with the world champion? It's Anthony Crolla. Here's what he had to say to Steve Lillis.
Anthony, Happy New Year to you first of all. What's you going to be up to in 2018?
Happy New Year, mate. At the minute, I'm still waiting just to find out when I'm going to be out. I reckon it's going to be late March, early April. Who, where, what for? Honestly, I'm not sure just yet. But I'm in the gym, I'm ticking over, as a lot of lads and girls as well, in the gym, enjoying training, and sort of just getting in a good place for when camp starts, really, mate. But the plan this year is to win back a world title.
Yeah, I mean, every fight for you now at this stage of your career, and I'm sure you don't mind me saying, it's got to be meaningful, hasn't it? It's got to be a hard fight. You can't have warm-up 10-rounders and then wait another 6 months, can you?
No, I'm totally with you, Steve. Totally with you, mate. Yeah, I'm 31 now, and although I believe I lived a life, and I live like a professional, train well, in and out of camp. I've been professional now since 2006. It's a long time to be getting punched in the head. So I do know this is. Like you said, I want to make all fights meaningful now, and that's what I want. I think for the last few years I've tried that.
Yeah, you have.
Each fight a meaningful one, and the plan, like I say, is to win back another world title. So whichever route really gets me there is the plan. Is the plan. I know a lot of the champions obviously are tied up at the minute, so I'm not sure, like I say, who I'm going to fight next. But yeah, every fight's sort of meaningful, and obviously, with those meaningful fights, financially, you get looked after, and it makes things a little bit easier for the family who I'm doing it for, really.
I mean, two of your most meaningful fights have been against Jorge Linares. He's back in action on BoxNation on the 27th of January, defending his WBA lightweight title against Nonito Gester. What sort of fight is that for you, Anthony?
I see it as, since then, Mikey Garcia, Jorge Linares has been ordered to happen after this. I know they've both got business to take care. In between, there's no such thing as a gimmick whatsoever. But this is a fight that you'd certainly favour Jorge. But listen, he's in with a very game opponent, in with the Wildcats. They'll feel they know Jorge very well, and I'm looking forward to it, but it's a fight that I expect Linares to win and win well.
Yeah. Have you seen a lot of Gester at all?
I was just going to say with Gester, I've only seen very little of him, and he's certainly capable. But stylistically, I think that he will. Linares will land the nice, flashy combinations that he wants. Whether has to see the final bell or not, I'm not so sure. I think that all depends on, with Jorge, how it is after 6, whether he's going to go in for the finish or whether he's going to see it out. But I'm sure that he'll be looking to make a bit of a statement towards the Mikey Garcia fight that looks like it's going to happen, which is a great fight for boxing.
How would you see Linares and Garcia going? I take it you'll be flying out there to sit in the front row with your, cheering on your pal Jorge.
Yeah, I certainly will. I'll be trying my very best. Depending on the date, I'll certainly try my best to, like you say, me and Jorge are good friends now. And I'll certainly root for him. But for me, that is the biggest fight for me that I want to see. Obviously, the biggest fight in boxing, the Canelo Golovkin rematch. Being honest, or Joshua Fury. But from sort of a personal point of view, even from as a boxing fan, I think you've got two very, very talented fighters there who can do it all, really. And I'm hopeful that can be made. I'll be there. Listen, I'll never go against Jorge, but it certainly is the hardest fight out there for him, Mikey Garcia. You'd certainly give the edge of power with Garcia. But the boxing skills with Jorge, it's such a tough fight to call that, mate. It really is. You know, I expect Jorge to develop an early lead. It's just what happens when Mikey Garcia lands.
Yeah, and I hope if you do go, given that you've been through 24 rounds, 72 minutes in a boxing ring, I hope he don't make you pay for your ticket either.
Hopefully I've heard that. I'm sure, depending on who's the show it is, I might get looked after with a ticket. But if I have to pay for a ticket, I have to. It's like everyone else, it's that kind of fight where I'd pay good money to be there, mate.
And just one final question before you go. One fight a lot of people will pay good money to see is yourself against Terry Flanagan. Do you think that fight's gone now that Terry's moved up to 140 pounds?
It certainly looks very unlikely. I've always said I wish Terry all the best in what he does. Obviously, I was surprised, like most, that he moved up in weight, but if he feels the time's right to move up, then, you know, he knows he's probably best his team, know what's best for him around him. But yeah, there was a lot of big fights there for Terry at lightweight, the Linares fight, the Mikey Garcia fight. But when speaking to Terry, I think he feels a bit better at 140, so I honestly wish him all the luck in the world.
Well, that was Anthony Crolla. He's expecting Jorge Linares to win this weekend. A couple of bits to pick up on, Steve. Talk to me. Do you agree with Anthony on Linares beating Mahito Gesta?
Yeah, you think Gesta, will be second best.
Second bester.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Get your coat, definitely go. But no, you got to fancy him to win in some style. The good thing is Gesta will be in front of him. So that will make, while it does last, it will be a good fight because Gesta won't stop trying. He'll bring it all. He knows this is, he come unstuck in his last world title fight against Miguel Vasquez, which doesn't augur well for his chances against Linares. But Miguel Vasquez at the time was a very, very good lightweight, albeit not great on the eye because of his style. He'll be in front of Linares Gesta, and I think that's what will make Linares look good in this fight. It is just seen as marking time in the eyes of Golden Boy, but the Golden Boy have come unstuck recently with their matchmaking.
Of course.
With Billy Joe Saunders, Lemieux. Lemieux got beat, and also it cost them a fortune. They had to pay Billy Joe Saunders, and they thought they were buying the belt, so they won't want to be. They certainly can't afford another one of their stars to get beaten.
And what about Crolla? His next move? What do you see that as? There's been talk about him fighting on the Joshua card potentially.
Yeah, I know he said that he's out. Anthony's out in March or April. The other fight I can see for him is the Ricky Burns rematch.
Really?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think there must be. That's the fight I can see for him. It's good enough to have a rematch. I think that's what. I mean, I don't know, but that's what I think.
I've heard about Luke Campbell potentially. For me, that's a more intriguing fight than the rematch.
A more intriguing fight, but I'm a good pal of Anthony's. It's not the fight I'd like to see him in. I won't mind seeing the Burns rematch.
Gotcha. I hear you, Steve. And what about the Flanagan fight? I mean, it's a lot of he said, she said in terms of it.
You never say never, but if it's going to happen, Anthony's got to move up to 140 pounds, and he's going to have to wait because look, let's be honest. If Terry beats Morris Hooker, he will either fight Jack Cattrall later this year. Or he'll have one more fight before Jack Cattrall. So I think that fight has gone for now. Well, I think it's gone for good. That's my belief. The only way it could possibly happen is if Terry is still unbeaten in a year's time. Anthony's continued his good form and moves up to junior welterweight. I'd be surprised if we saw that fight now. I think when it didn't happen last year, we said goodbye to it, and I think they're both of them. They're mates actually. I don't think they even talk about it. I think they both know it's
gone.
It's gone.
Well, that's a big double-header this weekend. This Saturday night on BoxNation will be live from 2 a.m. It's Jorge Linares, and also on the card, we've got Lucas Matisse, the monster. He was an absolute machine at 140 pounds. He is fighting for the WBA World Welterweight Championship against Terwar Kiram. Steve, quick word on that one.
Well, Terwar Kiram must have had more title fights than any boxer professional today.
Really?
He's had about 33, 34 fights for the PABA welterweight title. Won his first 5 fights, then he went for the interim PABA welterweight title.
Right.
And after about 7 or 8 interim fights, they must have just given him the belt for real.
Right, okay.
And every fight, since about his 6th professional fight, has been for the PABA welterweight title until this week. I don't think he's ever stepped out of... I think it's all been around in Thailand, every single fight.
Gotcha.
They're not the greatest travellers, Thai boxers. Although we saw the guy that beat Gonzalez last year was absolutely fantastic. And it's also a question of what Matisse's got left. If he's got anything left, he should pick up this sort of version of the world welterweight title.
To confirm this, Steve, has Terwar Kiram had to vacate his PABA title in order to fight for the WBA welterweight title?
I can't answer that one, but I don't really be too happy if he has, because he's worn that round his waist for about 33, 34 fights.
He's had a
As a
lifetime of
fighter,
it.
ever made so many title defences of one belt, and if he's got the first belt he was given around 5 years ago when he first won it, it must be in a right state by now, getting wrapped round his waist every time he boxes. It must be an absolute mess. But
when fighters come to the ring, sometimes you see their entourage carrying the belt, so I wonder if there'll be the
this
PABA.
will all be frayed at the sides and in a real mess. But no, it's all about what Matisse's got left. I think there was lasting. I know he's had wins since against the likes of Provodnikov, John Molina Jr. had seen better days. I think Danny Garcia, when I was at that fight, Garcia was brilliant that night. When Garcia beat me, he was another. That was Garcia then. When he won that, I was saying Garcia's the man to beat Floyd Mayweather. He was that. He absolutely destroyed the myth and the air of invincibility around Matisse, who was built as some wrecking machine by Golden Boy and had proven himself as that. Garcia just was brilliant that night. It was one of the best performances I've seen of the last few years, and head and shoulders above anything Danny Garcia's done in his career, even including the knockout against Amir Khan. I thought he was magnificent that night. He's never kicked on from there. And I think when you get a puncher like Matisse and the invincibility's taken, you're never quite the same again. And he should beat Kiram on Saturday night, but would you put him near the likes of Crawford, Spence and Thurman and give him a chance? No.
But they'd be interesting fights, right?
Hey, I'm not writing the fights off, but you wouldn't be backing him to win, and it's just about getting him a world title. But no, Garcia took his soul, shall we say, I think.
Then there was the fight against Victor Postal as well, of course, where
he lost that, and he's come back with the Emmanuel Taylor win.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's what he was, though. Unless he's totally shot, you'd think he'd have enough to beat Kiram, unless he's one of these incredibly kept secrets.
Now here's some dates that it's time for you to punch into your calendar. Thursday, 1 o'clock, the main event. So this basically is it's a show that's on all the time on BoxNation. We've got a 24/7 schedule, so there's plenty of times that this show is on. It's different main events, so cut out all the undercards. And this one in particular, Thursday 1 o'clock, is Adrian Broner against Adrian Granados. Steve Lillis, that was a tight fight.
It was a tight fight. Granados isn't a bad fighter at all. I think he was on the Amir Khan shortlist
on their radar.
He was on the radar, but he's a good fighter, Granados. One of those guys that he's a high-end gatekeeper, shall we say, Granados. He's one of those guys. If you lose to him, you're going nowhere without being horrible there. And if you beat him, it's a great step to better things.
Yeah, and it was a close fight, and Granados was like effing and blinding afterwards. He swore blind he won the fight, but Broner got the nod. Friday 7 o'clock, Bunce's Boxing Hour. It's every Friday. It's 7 o'clock. It's free to air on Sky Channel 437. Steve, any little hints? You know what's on this week?
Yeah, I've no idea who's on this week. Last week I had a good idea who was on. I think there could be 1 or 2 press conferences this week. Certainly there'll be one, I think, and could be some names on that. Perhaps Billy Joe Saunders, Martin Murray. I think there could be a press conference with those guys this week. I don't know. I'm hearing there might be something.
Well, if there is something, the best of it will be on Bunce's Boxing Hour, Friday, 7 o'clock. Here's Saturday at 11 o'clock, Lomachenko versus Mariaga. Another scalp for Nomaschenko, he's calling himself now. Steve, would you like that fight?
If you're a youngster who's just starting up boxing and you want to learn, or see things you should be doing or try and develop, just go and watch Lomachenko. So instead of Saturday morning, don't watch Soccer AM on Sky, because it passed the sell-by date even before Lovejoy left. It's rubbish. Just go and watch Lomachenko Mariaga. And it is boring, yes. Not Lomachenko Mariaga, Soccer AM.
Absolutely. I think in this Lomachenko fight, there is a moment, a sequence, if you will, where he goes into the corner himself, Lomachenko, and starts ushering Mariaga in, calls him in, just teasing. I love it when he toys with his opponents. And Saturday, 2 a.m, we talked about it earlier, it's the return of Jorge Linares to BoxNation. He'll be defending his titles against Masito Gesta. Lucas Matisse also on the show that we talked about, and he'll be fighting for a vacant WBA World Welterweight title. To subscribe, it's very easy. Just go to BoxNation.com. Just a few simple instructions, press a few buttons, and let me just dispel a myth here, because I hear things all the time about, yeah, but when you sign up, there's you got to sign up for 3 months, you got to sign up for a year, etc. There is no minimum contract when you sign up to BoxNation. You could sign up today or sign up at the weekend for a fight and then just cancel it the next day. We'd recommend not cancelling it because BoxNation is absolutely brilliant and it's 24/7 boxing. But if you wanted to, you could cancel the next day. There is also watch.boxnation.com, which is kind of like Netflix. So again, cancel any time, but you've got all the fights live and also a wealth of on-demand content. Some of it is even free, so make sure you check that out. It's watch.boxnation.com. Steve, another week, another terrific podcast. We've had Tyson Fury, Martin Murray, Crolla, Frampton, Donaire. Talk to me.
Yeah, it's been a really good couple of hours. The time has just absolutely flown. I don't know if it's light or dark outside.
And remember, if you like things like exclusive Tyson Fury interviews, if you're partial to a bit of a sing-song with some of the best fighters in the world, leave us a review on iTunes, please. And remember to tweet us any comments at BoxNation TV, at Steve Lillis, and at Sani Dev. Keep up with all the boxing news on the BoxNation Twitter, BoxNation Instagram, BoxNation Facebook. We've got a Snapchat account as well. We need to do more on that, but we're on there too. And go to BoxNation.com to make sure you are subscribed. Any final words, Steve?
Just one question. I meant to mention it earlier. And if someone can answer this, I'll try and find something. A hoodie or BoxNation. So I'll try and find something.
Hit me with it. What you got?
Martin Murray's 5th world title attempt.
Yeah.
Has any British boxer ever won a world title at their 5th attempt?
Oh, goodness me.
No, George Groves won at his 4th attempt.
He did. When was Bruno? Was
third, I think, Frank.
Right.
Has anyone ever did it with their 5th attempt?
Wow. Okay, good question.
And if someone can answer that, if there is someone, and if it's a no, then there's thousands of you going to say no, so I don't think there is. But if there is someone, and the first person who says, yeah, this person did it, I'll dig something out for you. From the BoxNation vaults, I'll get dust off a t-shirt or a hoodie or something. I'll find something.
Okay, so if you have the answer to that, use the hashtag BoxNation Podcast as well. It will be easier for us to find it, and you'll get one of Steve's sweaty old t-shirts. Is that what you just said?
Sweaty, I won't even wash it.
Good to hear. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and you